Amsterdam is difficult and stressful because the housing market is extremely tight for everyone. Does it mean you will never find something? Not necessarily, but you should start searching on time. And we advise you to do the following. Once you are conditionally admitted, apply for housing options through our VU International Office. We offer accommodation in different price ranges on a first-come, first-served basis. However, we have limited availability, so no guarantees. Even worse, rental contracts are only for the first year of your study program, and extensions are not possible. You have these further options. Register soon on student housing platforms, as they work with registration time. Check your social media, and look for options on the private market. Even search beyond the city borders. Public transport is available, but does come with extra costs. And be aware, rooms on the private market are often small and expensive. Watch out for scammers. When it's too good to be true, it probably is. If you don't find accommodation 1 month before the start of your study program, reconsider your study plans. So stop dreaming and start preparing now. For more information, go to vu.nl/accommodation.
Yeah, so now we will do a quick poll to test your knowledge about the housing market in Amsterdam. There are 5 questions. I will read them out loud and you can click on the answer that you think is correct. Afterwards, I will give the right answer. So what is the average price of a room in Amsterdam via our international office? What is the price of the most expensive kennel house in Amsterdam? Is there an option to live at the VU campus? What percentage of bachelor and master students can get housing through EU housing services, so our international office? And when do you start your housing search? The answers are coming in, I see. They're still coming in, so let's wait a minute. Okay, so most of you have answered. For the first question, what is the average price of a room in Amsterdam via our international office? Most of you got the right answer, that is 650 euros. And what is the price of the most expensive kennel house in Amsterdam? There was a bit of a 50-50 between 50 million euros and 7.5 million euros. And the students that chose 50 million euros had it correct. And is there an option to live at the VU campus? This one is interesting because most of you thought there is an option and said yes. However, the answer is no, and we will explain this a little bit further in our webinar. So what percentage of bachelor and master students can get housing through EU housing services? Most of you thought about 55%. It is 43% actually. And when do you start your housing search? Most of you had that correct, that is now indeed. Yeah, thank you for your answers. We will continue the webinar now. Claire, we need to work with you.
Yes. Hi, my name is Claire, and let me explain about our housing application procedure. To apply for student housing by the international office, you first need to be conditionally admitted. You can apply for housing by your personal dashboard. Confirm your participation, select your budget category, and pay the housing fee. After you've taken these steps, we will put you on our list. The Budget category is just an indication for us. It doesn't mean we can guarantee housing in your preferred budget category because we work on a first paid, first served system. If you, for example, paid your housing fee last year already, you're on top of our list. A few months before the start of the academic year, you will receive the booking instructions by email. In our online booking system, you will see the available rooms from all available budget categories at that time. Please note that we only offer a 1-year contract with fixed dates. So even if you have a 2 or 3-year study program, we can only offer you a 1-year contract. In case all rooms are booked, students will be placed on a waiting list. Please keep our cancellation deadline in mind. If you have found a place on your own or any other reason you want to cancel, you can do this before the 1st of July and we will refund the housing fee. On the map you can see we offer student housing all over Amsterdam. It's all spread out, so we don't have a BU campus. We have around 1,800 rooms for bachelor, master and exchange students all together. We work with 12 different housing providers. We offer rooms with shared facilities, as you can see on the picture on top of the slide. This is a shared room at Uilenstede with a private bedroom, shared kitchen and shared bathroom. Average rental price per month is around €378. We also offer self-contained studios, for example at our domain, which you can see on the bottom of the slide. You will have a private bedroom, kitchen and bathroom. Average rental price is €950 per month. So as you can see, prices vary from around €400 to €1,100, but the average rental price per month for PU housing is €650 per month. We have residence assistants living at Campus Uilenstede and our student complex in Amsterdam North called Bold. Residence assistants organize activities to help you settle in, get to know each other, and learn more about the city and bachelor life. They also offer help in practical and personal matters. On the next slide, Michelle will tell you more about finding a room on your own.
Yeah, next to applying for the International Housing Service, we advise you to look for a room on your own. You have two options. The first option is to look on the private market, but be prepared. The housing market in the Netherlands is very tight and rooms are often expensive and small. We advise you to arrive a few months earlier to do live viewings. And watch out for scams. Don't transfer any money before you've done viewing, and follow your instinct. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. You can also register yourself on student housing platforms. We advise studentenwoningbed.nl and Room.nl. Room.nl also offers a priority period, which I will be telling you more about later. Registering yourself on these platforms is a big advantage when you follow a 2 or 3 year program, as you are building up registration time. Another tip from us is to look for cities outside of Amsterdam. Rooms are often more affordable. Don't forget to take your travel costs into account, as Netherlands doesn't have any benefits for international students regarding travel. We strongly advise you to reconsider your study plans if you didn't find a room by appointment. So in conclusion, start research now. Our main partner, CURSO, which is a social housing provider, has organized a priority room for first-year students coming from abroad. As I mentioned on the previous slide, this priority room is available by the platform Room.nl, and the priority is valid for contracts with a start date between the 1st of June and the end of September. For the below 3 locations, we advise bachelor and 2-year master program students to try this, as you will get a campus contract, which is a contract for the entire duration of your study program. Please check the table on the right for steps and find more information via Room.nl. Now, Peter will introduce himself and the student organization from the PU.
I don't know if I can introduce all the student organizations of the VU, but I can certainly say something about the SRQ Student Union. Hi, I'm Peter. I'm the vice chair of the SRQ Student Union. And as you might understand, well, because of the housing market, a lot of students face difficulties on the housing market. And that means trouble finding a room, but also trouble when you find a room to not get scammed in illegal and legal ways. And the reason we're here at the Student Union is for you to give you help and legal aid when you have problems with, for example, your landlord. Because like Michelle already said, sometimes your landlord will ask something of you which is illegal. We live in the real world, sometimes people break the law. And we're here to give you guidance into the Dutch legal system and give you legal aid because, well, I can imagine the Netherlands is already confusing enough. The Dutch legal system is also very confusing, especially if you don't speak the language. So you can always contact us as a Free Student Union via our website, via our email address. We also have a physical office at the main building, at the main floor, the ground floor. When you get scammed, for example, when you have to pay contract costs, yeah, that's illegal. You should never do that. Or something else when you pay for a room and the room, as it turns out, does not exist. Then we can help you. We're a membership organization, so I would really advise you to become a member of SRQ. Well, last year we did a lot of things to help international students who were not able to find accommodation. But as is said here, we don't have the magic solution to the housing market. We can help you, but we don't have a tin can of extra houses lying around, unfortunately. And besides student housing, we're also active on other fronts for representation. So we just talked about that there's no ruling for public transportation in Amsterdam, but the SRQ Student Union is actively lobbying and actively organizing to make sure that in the future there will be solutions for public transportation for international students, and a lot of other things we're also doing. So that's a bit of information about the SRQ Student Union. I'm not sure if there are specific questions about SRQ Student Union. There are 203 questions. I'm not able to see all of them. I can't see any specific questions about the Student Union, so I will stop right here.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for introducing yourself. So now it's time for interaction. First, we would like to give the words to our student experts, Maya, Michael, and Aisha. And afterwards, there is plenty of time to ask them your questions, or other questions will be discussed in the Q&A session. I would like to give the word first to Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just introduce myself. My name is Michael. I'm from the United States, and I'm here in the Netherlands studying for a Master of Science by Research in Clinical and Developmental Psychopathology at the FU. It's a 2-year program, and I moved here in August 2020. When it came to finding accommodation, as soon as I knew I wanted to study at FU, I paid the €500, and it was super worth it because I was able to live at Campus Allenstede, which is just a 10-minute bike ride south of the university for my first year. But this year I'm actually living in Utrecht, because the housing market, as has been mentioned multiple times before, is super competitive, but I'm very happy with where I live. And after the others introduce themselves, I can share more about my very tumultuous experience trying to find housing on the private market and also through student housing corporations in Amsterdam. But I live in student housing in Utrecht. It's very affordable, and Utrecht is a beautiful city, so know that there are options outside of Amsterdam too.
Okay, thank you. Aisha, would you like to introduce yourself?
We can't hear you.
Okay, I think Aisha is getting her headphone. Maya, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Hi, so I'm Maya. I'm a first year student. I study biomedical sciences and I came here from Poland. I moved last August and I also had quite a journey trying to find my apartment because in half a year I moved 4 times, 3 of them around Amsterdam. But right now I live in the student experience building here in Zout, which is a 5 minute bike ride from the university and like 15 minutes walking, and I think it's the best location that there is. So I can also tell the story more elaborately after Aisha introduces herself.
Thank you. Aisha, can we hear you now? Yeah.
Okay. We're good.
Good. Hi, I'm Aisha. I'm currently doing the master development in international studies. I've been living in the Netherlands for 2 years now, almost, and I'm currently one of the resident assistants of one of the international building systems at the building.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you all mentioned that you have a lot of experience already on the housing market. And maybe we can talk through that during the questions. We have a lot of questions, so I think we need to take a lot of time for this. So yeah, let's start with that. And if we have time, you can all share a little bit more about research. Amber, what are the most asked questions?
Yeah, there are a lot of questions in the Q&A section, but we will discuss a few of them. So, what does the 500 euros housing fee include?
This is just a one-time payment for the BU in order to provide housing for international students. So this is not part of your deposit or part of your rent. This is just basically an application cost for the university to give you a chance to find housing through our services.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Do I need to be fully admitted to apply for housing services?
You need to be conditionally admitted, and once you're conditionally admitted, you can apply. You will also see this in your personal dashboard, and then you can just take the steps.
Yes, thank you. There was also a question for the students. If there's any neighborhood they recommend or like to avoid, but maybe they can answer this in the chat. Another question: do we get to reject housing offers? If we made them a housing offer,
I can explain how it works. So you will be in our online booking system. So students will choose their own room in the system. So you will see the available rooms at that time, and then you make a choice. So it's not about rejecting. We don't offer you one type of housing. There are several options, and you can choose one of these options in the system. I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. Another question coming in. Are there couple rooms available?
There are definitely couple rooms available, but very limited availability. So if you're interested in a couples room, please apply via the steps, via your dashboard, and send us an email via studentaccommodation@vio.nl and tell us that you're interested in a couples room, and then we will personally answer you about the options.
Thank you for your answer. Another question: when is the deadline to apply for housing? Is there a deadline?
Okay, so there is no deadline to apply for our housing services. However, as we've mentioned in the presentation, if you didn't find a room by August, we advise you to reconsider your study plans. So after August, we don't think it could still apply for accommodation service. But before that date, you can definitely apply, and then we will keep in touch about what is the situation and what are the options.
All right. Some other question about the budget categories. Maybe we can explain a little bit more about why they have to choose a budget category, or if it's if they can change the budget category.
Okay, the budget category is just an indication. So later on, when you're in our system and you will see the available rooms, you will also see the available budget category. So you're not choosing from only one budget category. It's just for us to know how many students apply within a certain budget. It's just for our own information. But also I want to mention again that, let's say you've selected the budget category 350 to 550. It doesn't mean you will get a room within that budget category. It depends on when you will choose your room and when you have paid the housing fee.
All right. Yeah, there are some more questions about the housing fee, and if they get the housing fee back, if they decide to study somewhere else. Maybe you can explain that a little bit.
Yeah, until the 1st of July, you receive a refund of the housing fee if you cancel your application, regardless the reason. So it doesn't matter if you found something yourself or if you're going to study somewhere else. Until the 1st of July, you will get a full refund. After this date, you only get a refund if we didn't give you access to the booking system. And if you did receive access from us to the booking system and you want to cancel after the 1st of July, the fee becomes non-refundable.
All right, thank you. Let's see, there are many questions in the chat going quickly. When does the booking procedure start? When do we know which room we have or can choose a room?
We start with so we work with the paid first serve system, as Claire explained already. So the students who have already applied in October last year will get access first to the booking system. And this process starts halfway May. So during half May until the end of June, we will be busy with uploading students in the booking system.
All right. Are the houses and rooms, are they furnished or are they unfurnished?
Yeah, we have several options. Most of our rooms are furnished. We have also what is called a campus contract, but it's very, very limited. And that's our rooms. These rooms are unfurnished. And a campus contract is for your whole study program.
Okay. Clear? Yes, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A. Also, some questions about, are there any Facebook groups or other websites where we can find housing?
Definitely after this webinar, we will share some sufficient links with you. And on our website, we have a PDF file with tips for finding a room on your own, Facebook groups, housing organization, etc. So we will be sharing this with you shortly.
All right. Maybe you can also put some questions for the students, for Michael, Maya, and Aisha in the Q&A. So we can also ask them questions if you have them. Yeah, maybe another question just coming in from Julian. If I apply for housing in the beginning of March, what is the chance of receiving housing? This might be a little bit of a complicated question, but maybe you can try explaining it a little.
Well, at the moment, we're not fully booked yet, which means that if you have applied and you've already received an answer from us, you're on our list, so we will offer you a room. But of course, there will be a time that we're fully booked, and then we'll put students on a waiting list. But so far, yeah, if you have applied in March, then you're okay.
All right. Yeah, thank you for the question.
Yes, let's maybe share some experiences from our experts. So Michael, maybe you can share a little bit more about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Perhaps I can just share sort of an overview of how I got housing in the first year and then how I found housing now for my second year, because definitely a ride to try and find housing for my second year of study. But like I mentioned earlier, I moved to the Netherlands in August 2020, and I believe that I paid the €500 accommodation fee because it's even with COVID and fewer people traveling to study in the Netherlands, I knew it was going to be the best option because a lot of housing companies and also private landlords like for people to visit in person, which wasn't going to be at all possible for me to do. So I paid the fee, I selected my price range, and I decided that I wanted to go for short stay housing, even though I would be here for 2 years, specifically because with COVID, it was still at a point in time where Americans entering the Netherlands would have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And I didn't want to go 2 weeks without being able to furnish my apartment, you know, just sleeping in a huddle of blankets on the floor and not knowing where to get a fridge or anything like that. So I lived at Campus Allenstede in the Green Tower, and I was actually a resident assistant for that building for the last year. In that scenario, I was living in, it's a private bedroom and bathroom with a shared kitchen. At the time I lived there, it was about €420 a month. And then working as a resident assistant got me a discount, which was very lovely to have. I also worked as a resident assistant during my bachelor's, so it was really nice to continue that. But then I immediately started searching for housing for my second year. I was putting myself on wait lists and registering for websites as early as September 2020. And I still ended up basically homeless for a month, for the month of September. I went back to the United States. My housing contract in the Netherlands ended August 14th, 2021. And I had found no housing. So to reiterate what's been said before, pay the accommodation fee, and if you're going to be here for more than a year, I highly recommend trying to get a campus contract room. My housing options for the second year ended up being between a room in a shared flat, which was going to cost me €750 for a month for an 11 square meter room in the apartment, and that felt ridiculous. But that was going to be in Amsterdam. Another option in Amsterdam was a 23 square meter private studio apartment with a student housing corporation, but it was going to be 1,300 euro a month, utilities not included. Okay, so that's way out of my price range. And then finally, I started looking outside of Amsterdam, and I found a student housing corporation in Utrecht called the FIS, and that's where I live now. It's a brand new building. They literally opened it October 1st, which is the day I moved in. And it's 800 a month for a private studio apartment of 22 square meters. My commute, I answered this typing in the Q&A, but my commute is about an hour each way to the university. But I'm American, I'm very used to having to travel long distances to work and school, so it's not, in my opinion, awful. And the public transport here is fantastic, not to mention, you know, the wide array of bike lanes that you can use to get from train station to train station, which makes things easier and cheaper. But I really love where I live, honestly. I'm not used to living in a city, and Amsterdam is very loud and busy and bright and bubbly, which is fantastic. But for me, being able to live in sort of a smaller and quieter city has been really lovely, and Utrecht has all the charm of Amsterdam. So even though I have to commute, I really think I have the best of both worlds. I get to participate in things on campus. I'm really involved with the Erasmus Student Network, but I also have a group of friends in Utrecht that I get to hang out with and spend time there. So yeah, that was a lot of detail. I hope that was useful, and also maybe not too much for everyone to digest, but that's my experience. I'm very happy where I am.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for sharing your story. Do we have some more questions in the Q&A that we should do live, Amber?
For Michael, yeah, like you said about transportation, how much does it cost roughly?
I pay, it depends on the month. I pay between 200 and 250 euro to commute. One thing that I forgot to mention is that my current apartment qualifies for rent allowance, which is from the government. A lot of student housing qualifies for that. It's a lot of detail, and you should not worry about it until you get to the Netherlands. But the government does give me 300 euro back each month because I don't make enough money for them to think that I'm sufficiently really sufficient on my own, which is very nice because it means I only pay about 500 for my rent. But then again, 200 to 250 for travel fees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And around when in the year did you apply for your housing?
I believe I applied in April of 2020. As I'm here on a scholarship, so as soon as I got confirmation about that scholarship, I immediately applied for the IO's accommodation fee.
All right. Yeah, that were some of the most asked questions for Michael. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Do we have any other questions you want to bring up? Like maybe questions that you see a lot? Like
yes, maybe how can we get housing allowance? Can we explain a little bit more about this?
I could try explaining a little more from an international perspective if that would be useful.
Sure. Yes, that's better. Yeah.
Yeah. So you won't be able to apply for it until you're physically in the Netherlands and register with the local municipality. You know, everyone has their BSN or their ID number within the Netherlands. So once you have all of that and you have your rental contract and the municipality knows that you're living in the country, what you can do is go online. I highly recommend from your rental contract, it breaks down all of your different prices for utilities and stuff like that. And it's a very simple web page. So you just enter how much your rent costs based on the sort of breakdown presented in your rental contract. And the government calculates based on your age and how much your rent costs, how much you get in housing allowance. So it's different if you're between the ages of 18 and 22 versus if you're 23 or older. So last year, when I lived in Campus Allenstede, it was about €420 a month for my room. And I think I only got €18 a month in housing allowance. But also part of what plays into that is I was 22, so I didn't qualify for a higher level of allowance. If you're 23 or older, like I am now, you can live in more expensive apartments to a certain upper limit that the government sets, and you get a higher amount of rent allowance. Again, it's based on how old you are and how much you're paying in basic rent to wherever you're living. I would say your best chance of getting rental allowance is actually through student housing. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to get in private housing situations because you need to have your own front door, kitchen, bathroom. So it's a very complicated thing to try to explain without or to even understand without like lived experience of moving in here and getting settled in. But I hope that explanation clarifies at least a little bit. The point is it's there and available depending on your housing situation.
Yes, maybe add to that this is not for every room option that we offer. So you really have to check if the room is eligible for housing allowance or not.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also available in the booking system, so you can see whether a room is eligible or not.
And it depends also on your age, because a lot of rooms are only eligible for housing allowance if you're 23.
Yeah, correct.
So any other questions, Amber, that you want to mention?
There are some students wondering when do I receive an answer from you? I applied. What can I do now? Is there anything I need to do?
If correct, you received a confirmation email to inform you that you are added to the list within 2 weeks after you have paid the housing fee. So maybe that's good to mention. Your application is not completed until the VU has received your payment, the housing. Once we have received that, you will receive a confirmation email, which will tell you that in June you will receive further instructions in order to book your room. Until that email with instructions, you don't have to do anything but patiently wait.
Mm-hmm. Maybe following up to that, there are still some questions about first come, first serve. Maybe we can elaborate a little bit more on room and how the booking system works when the students get uploaded, for example.
What we can tell is the payment date determines your number on the waiting list. So when we start the whole booking process, we let a big group in the system at the same time. So as Michelle explained earlier, we will start mid-May, letting the first group into the system, and then so on. We will continue letting people into the system in groups. Can you add anything to this, Michelle?
No, I think that covers it. Yes. The last, let's say the group who goes first in the booking system has the best choice. Let's put it like that. And the further we are, the less rooms are available. So you might end up with booking a room that is more expensive than you initially expected or wanted. Or you might have to share your bathroom and your kitchen, even though you didn't want that. So take that into consideration.
So you might start with an idea of which room you want to book, but it's not always possible. So if you apply very late in the year, you won't have much choice. So that's the first come, first serve system. I hope this explanation makes it a bit more clear.
And the student is also interested in how much time are we given in the booking system.
Okay, I understand. So we will send instructions, and with those instructions, you receive information about how to activate your account from room.nl. And once you have activated your account, you can look around on the website. So you can already investigate which rooms will be suitable for you. And then your booking period starts around 24 hours after this first email with instructions. So you have first at least 24 hours to familiarize yourself with the website. And then your booking period starts, and then you will have around 3 days to book a room. But the experience shows us that a lot of students will book at the start of the booking period. So if the booking period starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then half an hour later at 3:30, we see that 75% of the rooms is booked.
All right. And when can we move in? Is also another question. Is that July? Is that August?
Yeah, most of our contracts start mid-August. This year, the move-in date with most of our providers is the 19th of August. And we only have a few exceptions where the contract starts at the beginning of September. But once you're in the booking system, it will be clear what the start date of the contract is. But most of the contracts start mid-August.
Mm-hmm. And is there also an ending date to the contracts?
Yes, we only have a 1-year contract, so it will be from mid-August till mid-August next year. So.
Okay. Yeah, so it's only possible for a maximum of 1 year.
Yeah, no extensions possible.
Okay.
So for the second and the third year, you have to look for rooms on your own. Of course, we have tips and tricks.
Yes, and you can also contact us, and we can send you a file with useful links on how to find accommodation by yourself. See, another question. Can I bring my pets?
It's not possible to bring pets into the student accommodation. There are some exceptions, but that's if you have a medical background, if you have a support cat or anything like that. But in general, you cannot bring any pets.
Okay, it's a clear answer. No pets. No pets allowed. Another question: do international students get a discount for public transports?
Unfortunately, that's not the case yet. Hopefully in the future. Aisha, do you want to add something to this? Or?
Yeah, for public transport for international students, there is some possibility to but from the EU, and you have to work a certain number of hours a month. You can apply for government loan, and if you're eligible for that, you can also get public transport. But there are some conditions attached to it.
Okay, maybe we can, after the webinar, we will write down your answer and we will send it to everyone. I don't know if your audio worked so well, but we will come back to this after the webinar.
Okay. There are some questions saying, can I find a room with 300 euros? I guess for us.
No, actually, we don't have rooms from 300 euros that we offer, and I don't think you will find any room on the private market in this price range, actually. The minimum is around 400 euros, I guess. Are there any other questions for our students, for our experts, like for Michael, Aisha, or Maya?
Yes, please put them in the Q&A section.
And then maybe Maya can share your story, like maybe not too long because we don't have much time left.
Okay, so I just wanted to answer one question about student experience in Amsterdam Zuid. There is a possibility because the question is, will rooms be available there? Is it listed on View website for 3-year contract? But you only mentioned 1-year contract. So with student experience buildings, when you move in, you sign a contract that you will live here for at least a year, and you cannot break that contract. But then, as long as you're a student, you can stay longer, but just till you finish your studies.
Yeah, and we offer a few rooms at this company where you're living, but we didn't mention it too much because we have very limited availability, and the experience shows us that these rooms are already booked in first minute of the first group. So therefore, we don't share too much information about it, but it's very good that you do have a contract here. And did you also register here via their direct website, Maya?
Yes, I tried, but it's pure luck because I've been trying to get a room here for 3 months and nothing. And I had a friend who signed up just randomly on one evening, and the next day he got a room. So,
oh wow!
But actually, I got mine through housing, so I was lucky, one of the lucky ones. So my story is that I got actually accepted unconditionally at the beginning of August. So I instantly started looking for a room in the first week, but it was so hard to find something that was affordable and nice and yeah, but I couldn't find anything, so I moved in with I found an apartment with my friend, and we decided to move in for a month to look for something better or cheaper, or maybe a student housing would like grant us a room, and we got kicked out. I mean, we couldn't prolong our contract when we wanted to because when we got here, we realized that the housing market is just crazy and we're not going to find anything else. So I was basically homeless for a month. And I was lucky enough to meet a friend who lives here. So she let me stay with her for a month. But then I tried for looking something at the private market, and I lived in a Vasa student village for 2 months, but I didn't really like it there. And I got I could at some point I could apply for student housing through the website, so I did. So then I had to move again 2 months later into student experience out, where I hope.
That's hopefully your fourth and last time, right?
Yes, I really hope it is.
Okay.
So actually, if you can start looking as soon as possible, because it is impossible. I went to so many viewings, and I like the prices went up. Like for example, 400 or 500 euros per month in a week on some accommodations, and people tried to scam me so many times. Try not to make any deals on WhatsApp because people try to do it. They ask you to send money and just I know everyone will probably get desperate at some point to find housing, but just don't do any business on WhatsApp.
Good advice, Maya. Thank you for sharing your story. I see we only have around 8 minutes. Are there any general questions we can still answer?
Yeah, there are some questions. I see that some students believe they pay the housing fee after they have chosen a room, but that's not the case. The date the fee receives your housing fee payment determines your place in the queue. So please pay the housing fee first. The booking system will be then later. So yeah, hopefully that clears it a little bit. Let's see if there's some other questions you might have. Can I find any pictures of the houses?
Yeah, they're actually on our website. If you go to vu.nl/accommodation, you will find all the information about student housing, and you will see also pictures from the rooms we offer.
Yeah, as well as when you have access to the booking system, you can see in the room advert, you can see all the details and photos of the rooms.
All right. Yes, thank you. Yeah, how can I pay the housing fee?
Like explained earlier, when you take the steps, so we go to your personal dashboard. That's where you can confirm your participation, select your budget category, and then pay your housing fee. You will see a payment link. You can also send the money by bank transfer. If you have any problems or if there's anything why you cannot pay, please send us an email to studentaccommodation@bu.nl and we will help you, of course.
All right. Yeah, somebody asked, how are the shared accommodations with 10 or more students? Is that a good option? Maybe one of our student ambassadors can
yeah,
share
maybe
a story.
Michael actually lived in the Green Tower in Ali City. Maybe you can share what was your experience living together with many people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was very used to it because I lived in shared accommodation during my bachelor's program in the United States as well. But one of the fun things about sharing a kitchen is that you immediately sort of have a friend group or family even as soon as you move into your accommodation. That's sort of your group of people and you get to spend time together. You also have that lovely little shared space that you have to hang out, to study, to eat meals as a family, all those sorts of things. I will say that at times it can get noisy, which is normal. I was sharing a kitchen with 12 other people, and sometimes they would want to throw parties or have dinners where they were inviting people from outside of our apartment group. But I will say that the most important thing was just communication. If, for example, you have an exam and your flatmates are talking about throwing a party, for me, that happened one time. I just messaged the group. I'm like, hey, can we please reschedule this? I have a big exam tomorrow. And if you guys are up until like 3 a.m., I know it's going to disturb my sleep. And they did, right? So it's all about open communication. And it also really depends on the group of people. Some groups in the Green Tower were really quiet. They were really quiet flats. And others like mine were a little rowdier and livelier. But again, with communication, just making sure we all respect each other's boundaries.
Definitely. Thank you, Michael. And I think if you prefer to have a more quiet place, you should maybe look into the studios and choose this option instead of shared accommodation.
There is one question I can really quickly answer about
Sure.
website or place in Amsterdam to buy furniture for unfurnished rooms. So as an international, it was it was weird for me at the beginning, but actually Dutch people, they love to resell and buy used stuff. So there is a website called Marktplaats. It's like a Facebook marketplace where you can find actually everything in affordable prices, and also the Facebook marketplace, they use it here very widely. So you can sell stuff and buy stuff. It's not a problem actually.
Okay.
Good tip. Yeah.
Thanks, Maya.
So is it possible to choose your roommates?
This is unfortunately not possible through our services, but we advise if you have a friend or a classmate who you would like to live together with to pay the housing fee around the same time. Then you will get the instructions also in the same time, and you can work together during the booking process. So you can sit next to each other with your PC and both try to book the room on the same unit or floor, or at least on the same building. So that's our advice in this case.
No guarantees.
No guarantees, no.
Yeah, so that was actually another question that Ella asked. Are rooms guaranteed? But so the answer is unfortunately it's not guaranteed. And is there a choice between furnished and unfurnished rooms? I think we also mentioned this before. There are mostly furnished rooms, but there are also some unfurnished options.
Yeah, so let's see.
Yeah, we only have 2 minutes left, so maybe
wrap it up. Is there one last final question that needs to be answered?
And also maybe it's good to mention if your question hasn't been answered, then please send us an email. And of course, we also have WhatsApp sessions. You can also make an appointment to call us. So there are many ways to still reach us. But maybe there's one important question still to ask.
Yeah, there are still many questions in the chat.
Maybe once again about the housing fee. We get a lot of questions about that. The housing fee.
Henny, what do you want to say about the housing fee? Okay, I don't hear her anymore.
Maybe it's good to mention again that the housing fee needs to be paid in order to complete your application. So you apply in your dashboard and you submit your preferred budget category. The payment tool doesn't appear right away. So sometimes you have to wait for 12 hours, and then the next day, if you look again in your dashboard, you can see the payment tool. The housing fee is a one-time cost that you have to pay in order to apply for accommodation. It's not an amount that you can use for the rent or the deposit. And in case you cancel your housing application, you receive a refund of the fee until the 1st of